The first time he noticed it, it felt almost ordinary. He stood up from the chair, stretching slightly after sitting too long, and walked toward the kitchen. Behind him, soft footsteps followed. Not rushed, not loud, just steady and consistent. He did not turn around. He already knew. When he stopped, the footsteps stopped. When he moved again, they resumed. It had always been like this, but he had never really paid attention to it. Not until that moment. He reached the sink and rested his hands on the edge, staring at nothing in particular. The day had been quiet, uneventful, yet something inside him felt unsettled, like a thought that had not fully formed. Behind him, the dog sat, not lying down, not distracted, just sitting, waiting, watching. There was a quiet intensity in that stillness. Dogs do not follow randomly. Their behavior is shaped by layers of instinct, learning, and emotional connection that go far beyond simple habit. He turned slightly and looked down. The dog's eyes met his, calm, focused, present. There was no demand in that gaze, no request for food, no sign of excitement, just attention, pure attention. He moved again, walking toward the living room. As expected, the dog followed, keeping a consistent distance, never too close. Perfect alignment. This kind of behavior often appears simple on the surface. People say it is loyalty, attachment, dependence, but the reality is more complex. Dogs build their world around patterns. They observe movement, routine, emotional shifts, and construct an internal map of what matters. Within that map, certain elements become central. For this dog, he was that center, not by chance, but through repeated experience. The man sat down again. The dog approached, then paused, choosing a position beside him rather than directly in front. It lay down slowly, its body angled in a way that allowed it to see both him and the room. Always aware. This is not just following, this is positioning. Dogs often place themselves in ways that maximize both connection and awareness. They remain close to the person they are bonded with, while still maintaining a sense of the surrounding environment. It is a balance between closeness and vigilance. The man leaned back, resting his head against the chair. The dog remained still. Its breathing was steady, its eyes half open, but its attention had not faded. Dogs do not disengage easily from what they consider important, and importance is not assigned randomly. It is learned. Every interaction, every shared moment, every pattern of behavior contributes to this sense of significance. Over time, the dog begins to associate the human with safety, with stability, with meaning, and so it stays close. Not because it has to, but because it chooses to. He stood up again, almost testing the pattern now. The dog followed immediately. No hesitation, no delay. This consistency is not driven by anxiety, at least not always. While some dogs follow due to insecurity, many do so out of strong attachment and awareness. They track, they monitor, they stay connected. The man walked toward the hallway. The dog followed. He paused. The dog paused. He turned. The dog adjusted. Each movement mirrored, not mechanically, but attentively. There is a psychological phenomenon at play here. Dogs synchronize with their humans, not just in movement, but in emotional state, in energy, in rhythm. This synchronization creates a shared system where one influences the other. The dog is not simply reacting, it is aligning. He stopped in the middle of the hallway and looked down again. The dog looked up. There was no confusion in its expression, no question, only presence. He realized something then. The dog was not waiting for instructions. It was observing, learning, staying ready. This behavior is deeply rooted in the evolutionary history of dogs. As social animals, they develop the ability to stay close to members of their group, to track movement, to maintain awareness of those they depend on. In a human environment, that instinct remains, but it adapts. The human becomes the center of the dog's social structure. The reference point, the anchor. The man walked into another room. The dog followed again, its pace unchanged, its attention steady. He sat down once more. The dog settled beside him, this time a little closer than before. The distance had shortened, trust had deepened, or perhaps awareness had increased. He placed his hand gently on the dog's back. The dog leaned slightly into the touch, then became still again. This small adjustment carried meaning. It was not seeking attention. It was accepting connection. There is a difference. The man thought back to earlier in the day. There had been a moment, brief but noticeable, when he felt uncertain, a decision he had not yet made, a thought that lingered. The dog had been close then too, closer than usual. Dogs often respond to subtle emotional shifts. They detect changes in body language, in breathing, in energy that humans may not even notice themselves. And when something feels different, they stay closer, not out of fear, but out of awareness. The man stood up again, this time more slowly. The dog followed, but its movement was softer, less immediate, as if it was no longer reacting, but simply maintaining connection. The pattern had become stable, predictable. The dog did not need to rush. It knew. He walked toward the door, then stopped. The dog stopped as well. For a moment, they both remained still, facing the same direction, sharing the same space. There was no command, no signal, just presence. He turned back toward the room. The dog turned with him. Again, perfectly aligned. This is where the meaning becomes clear. When a dog follows you everywhere, it is not just about dependence, it is about reference. You are the point through which the dog understands its environment. Your movement defines its movement. Your state influences its state. Your presence shapes its world. The man returned to the chair and sat down. The dog followed one last time, then lay down beside him. Its body relaxed, its breathing slow. This time, there was no intensity, no heightened focus, just calm. The connection had settled into something stable, something quiet. He looked at the dog, really looked this time, not as a habit, not as background, but as something present, aware, connected. He understood something then. The dog was not following him because it had nothing else to do. It was following him because, in its world, he was everything that mattered, not in a limiting way, but in a defining way. He was the center of its patterns, the anchor of its understanding, the constant in its environment. And so, it stayed close, not out of need, but out of meaning. The room felt different now, not quieter, but deeper, as if something that had always been there had finally been noticed. The dog remained beside him, calm, steady, present. And for the first time, he did not see the behavior as simple. He saw it for what it was, a silent expression of connection that did not need words.